Welcome back.
Hey guys, we're back.
This is, as usual, Ali
And Alexis.
and we are here bringing you some more green thread content where we talk about the environment and how it's important to basically live a greener life for not only you but your neighbors. Love thy neighbors like you love thyself, as they say. Did you know, though, that bees can recognize human faces?
Can they?
Yeah. So, like, the next time you see a bee, just give it a little smile.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey cutie. I think I've actually heard that about wasps. I'm not sure if that's true, but on TikTok, like, I see people commenting it, like, oh, bro's gonna remember you and come back for you, like, whatever, stuff like that. So I don't know if it's true, but I think that's really cool.
I mean, considering they're part of, like, the bee family, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely true, because when I learned it, I was like, I do say hello to bees a lot. So
yeah.
It makes me feel a little validated.
Yeah, they know. They know.
Well, let's talk about some topics that I feel like are very globally executed. Like, I feel like we're all very guilty of these things. One being with the topic of fall and seasonal items, consumption and consumerism, because I think overconsumption is something that people are like, oh, well, just because I bought all these items doesn't mean, like, I mean, somebody else can cancel out me or like my impact. And it's like, maybe, but no. Because, like, I mean, it's really, when it comes to the economy and like how things are starting to go up in price, it is really one of those mindsets of like, okay, so how much money do I need to be saving right now?
Right.
What could I put back on the shelf? For me personally, I pretty much live at Goodwill.
Yeah, me too. That's where this shirt is from.
Same.
Shout out Goodwill. Shout out Goodwill.
And like, it's not like, people think it's gross.
Yeah.
And I can understand where they're coming from, because you do kind of have a limit of like, what would you buy from a secondhand place? But I think at the end of the day, like, that's something that can be dealt with or like fixed, and versus like the problem like we were talking about in our last episode, which, check it out, in terms of fast fashion and people like, buying so many things and just, they end up in the back of the closet or end up in the landfill or wherever they might be, or even cut up, which I was crazy to think about. But I think it's just important to think about where you're getting it from, and not as much as like somebody else has had this before you, because I mean, I live by the fact that like somebody else's trash is another person's treasure.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we're all human beings, I'm very humanist and just very much considerate and compassionate to other human beings, and I don't see the grossness of it, like, of course you never know where it's coming from. Of course. You don't know what this person did in these clothes. You don't know where these clothes have been. But at the same time, I have a perfectly good washer and dryer at my house, and I'm going to wash it. And then, you know what? It doesn't really matter after that. So,
agreed.
It's just not that big of a deal to me. Another person's trash is my treasure. So,
literally, I mean, think of the like TikTok trend where I feel like people find like the gas at Goodwill. Like, they'll find those like really funny shirts and quirky things that somebody else got rid of. And I think it's things like that that make us like just bring a smile to my face, because it's like, okay, that's where you see a lot of people's personality. It's not at Forever 21. It's not at H&M. All those things just don't, they're like bland. It's kind of like looking at a black and white world versus a colorful world. And a lot of secondhand shops too that you can thrift at, they have really good on-brand things.
Oh, yes.
But they're taking care of their items, and it's just, like I said, secondhand. So it's like thrifting in a sustainable fashion, and also you look good.
Yeah.
Stuff. There's this store in downtown near where I live, and it's called Reverie. Okay. And I need to fact check and see if it's a chain, but I don't think so, because I have seen and met the owner, and she says that she's like, this is their only store, but she gets stuff from like the 1900s.
Wow.
And like dresses and like rompers, and I have a headband that I was supposed to be wearing today at some point, but it's like a crocheted one, which you crochet a lot. But it, like, they were like handmade, and like it's not about what, I mean, it is about what fabric they're made of, but like not about what the brand is.
Right.
Like things like that have historic value, but also it's crazy to think about these things still being in our trends.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I live at Goodwill. I really love Ecology in Kennesaw.
Yes, me too. Me too.
And just like honestly anywhere. Like I don't think if I were to go out right now, which I filled out your survey by the way, I love, and I don't buy clothes. I put like buy clothes rarely because I really don't. And if I do, if I ever chose to go out and get some, it would be a thrift store because I mean, yeah, there are some times where you're like, oh crap, I need shoes by tomorrow. And sometimes that doesn't always work out, like going to these more sustainable choices, but it's about the effort, the care, and the consistency or the frequency. So like say you were buying things like for a Halloween costume just for this year, but you were able to buy things that have a multi-purpose function. So you could like have a top that you can wear more than just that one night. That still helps. Yeah. I mean, every time I buy new costumes specifically, like for this year too, I have multi-purpose everything.
Me too. I actually am going to be Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And I already had some brown corduroy flare pants. Just happened to be that way. And then wearing these boots, and then I bought a top and I'm going to wear it again. So, you know, I'm going to reuse every part of my Halloween costume. It's just like another normal outfit for me, honestly.
Exactly. So. And like, not only is that like your carbon footprint is being reduced, but also you're comfortable. Yes. You're in items that you don't have to feel odd and like you're fixing your skirt the whole night. Yeah. And like I think a big thing that I am seeing in our generation specifically is like having multiple different costumes per weekend. Yes. And I'm like, that's crazy because I mean, how many of those things did you not have, or how many did you have, and how many you're never gonna see again? And I mean, okay, so if that were the case and they like there was something or a costume they want to do, because like y'all's creativity is crazy.
The TikToks I've seen, y'all are creative.
But so like if you're buying stuff for those specific costumes, then just like sell them, or like you know, make a different, I guess, ending for them other than a landfill or the back of your closet. Like that's just at the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, Poshmark, Etsy. Oh yeah. What is? There's a couple other ones.
Depop.
Depop, yes. I was gonna say there's a bunch of different places you can get some bank from your own bank, I guess. Right. And I think it's all about like if one person does that, or if it becomes a trend, which I really hope it does, then this idea of overconsumption could honestly pretty much be minimal. Yeah. And that's just crazy to think that we have that much power over an issue.
Oh, yeah. And we do. And a lot of people don't realize that, especially through social media and talking about trends and consumption. I actually saw a trend not too long ago. It was the underconsumption trend. What's that? And it's basically where people would record either their makeup bag or their old water bottle, their old backpack, or just some old products that they had, or it was just a minimal amount of products, like maybe just one type of lipstick, one type of mascara, instead of having like 40 shades of lipstick or something. Yeah. So people were just trying to show, I guess, like, look how little I'm consuming. But a lot of it was criticized. I mean, social media, you put a video out yourself, you're opening yourself up to criticism. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of the comments were pretty negative about like, oh, girl, this is normal consumption. I consume even less than this. Like, I'm better than you because I don't consume this much anyway. Which I'm glad that people were talking about it, maybe not in such a negative way. Yeah. But at the same time, this got people thinking, okay, well, how many lip glosses do I actually have? Why do I have 4 of them when I can only wear one at a time, where like they're all the same shade, or I'm still holding on to this old one when I could just, you know, I have a new one already. Why am I still holding on to all these? So even just, you know, besides environmentally, personally thinking about that impacts your mental health or impacts your lifestyle, just having so many things and just being mindful of how much you're consuming.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, I was born into a hoarder family. Yeah. And I think it's been a blessing and a curse in the way of like it's showed me what not to do or what I don't want to do for myself, but also it sucks because I mean, take like a couple months ago, when I moved back home, I had to turn one of our guest rooms into like my cat room. Yeah. And there was a bunch of my stuff from when I was like super young. And I mean, some of that, it could be like memorabilia and have some sort of like emotional connection to, but like 3/4 of it, no.
Yeah.
It's stuff I'm never going to use again. I mean, Littlest Pet Shop, hey.
Oh,
that will never
I have a toolbox-sized box of Littlest Pet Shops.
Absolutely.
Trust me on that.
Absolutely. Those things are never going to go out of style.
No.
But there are other things that, like, I would say I could so do without, and I tried so hard to convince my grandma. Like, I would sift through things, put them in a bag, and she'd go through, and for every, like, 10 items, she put 7 back. I'm like,
my goodness.
You don't understand. I'm like, she's so pro-environment. I'm like, you're inadvertently doing worse for the environment than what you think. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's just stuff like that where people just are so oblivious to the materialism that goes into, like, the environmental, like, sustainability and topics like that, which I think it is just an issue, and not really an issue that I feel like is talked about, because it seems to be, like you said, a trend to have a lot. And I mean, if you have the money, good for you, but at the same time, like, you're also not using the things you bought to the full extent, and if you aren't, then they don't serve a purpose to you anymore, and that's okay. But I don't know, it's just, I think also following the whole rule of, like, one in, one out, so for whatever, like, one thing you buy, you get rid of one thing. And luckily for me, usually it's like one thing in, like, 17 things out.
Yeah, me too, because I'm like, oh, I can't even fit this shirt in my closet anymore. I need to go through this and get rid of some stuff.
Right. And seasonal, don't get me, like, start on seasonal clothing.
Yeah.
But, like, just, like, anything. I mean, there was one time where I was trying to do, like, a artsy craftsy thing, which I try to be, but sometimes it doesn't work out the way I want it.
Yeah.
And I had this entire one of those diamond things. Like,
like a diamond painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it was like a hobby for me when I went during COVID and like not having much to do. And I bought all of the little, like, sticky pins and then, like, the different pictures and all the different diamonds and all that. And then one day I just haven't looked back, and I realized that, and I asked a couple of my friends if they wanted them, and they did. And I was like, thank God someone else will use them, because they're just not serving me anymore.
Right.
But that's, like, one of those things I'm like, live by the one in, one out. And if you can't, we'll sit down and we'll talk about what's good for you.
Yeah, we'll get through it somehow.
Or you can, like we've been saying, you can fill out the forms in our link tree and give us some feedback on what maybe problems that you feel like are more personal to you that maybe somebody else, because I mean, we're not all alone. Like, I think what one person struggles with, like, a lot of other people struggle with.
Absolutely. You're never alone in your struggles, and that's why it's important to talk about it, and why we talk about a lot of things and different topics, even if it doesn't affect us directly, or if it does, we know that a lot of you guys might relate, or, you know, even just us two, we're relating about a lot of it as well. So
so I mean, we want to hear that. We want to hear what you think is something that you, like, a habit that you can't quite break. And maybe, like, because some people really do feel this sense of, like, guilt almost. They're like, I want to make this change, I just, like, these habits are just so strong. And that's okay. I mean, these things that we are trying to inform you about or are learning ourselves, like, they're not things that are necessarily easy to do. And we all know that. I mean, for us, maybe. Because I know I've been biting myself hard about my habits, but like, it's not something that we want to, like, you know, throw down your neck or, you know, stuff down your mouth. It's just a matter of, like, these are things that we have seen the opposite viewpoint of, and realize that the simplest measures will make the biggest impact, which is so cliche, but we keep saying it, and it's true.
Yeah, it's true, because, you know, in order to change that bigger picture, you have to change the small little things first. I mean, you can't, my mom always says, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. So we can't just automatically go for the entire elephant. We have to just do one little bit at a time. And that helps by having multiple people do their own little part. And eventually we have that whole elephant. We have that whole picture. We can make that big difference that we want to make.
Right. I love elephants. That's a
analogy. I love elephants.
It's a great analogy. I love it. Is there anything else you wanted to add about the whole issue of overconsumption?
Just be mindful of your purchases. All the time I go in the store and I see something and I'm looking at my buggy of stuff and I'm like, man, did I need any of this before I walked into the store? And the answer is always no. I did not need this shirt or this lip gloss or this container, whatever it may be. So just be mindful of what you need versus what you want, and you know, I'm sure your bank account would appreciate it too. You know, that's another benefit of watching what you're consuming. Not only does it benefit the environment and you personally, it benefits how much money you're spending, which could help you out in your personal life. But just, you know, the message is to just be mindful of what you're consuming.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and thank y'all for listening in. Please stay updated with either our podcast or our news outlet or both, because you love us.
Yeah.
And keep being green, pulling on that green thread, connecting each other, and hopefully you'll find someone that you consider a inspiration for environmental impacts through us or through each other. That'd be great.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.